Good evening, citizens. Welcome to your City Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. Please turn off or silence all cell phones during the meeting. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 7 p.m. and midnight and available for viewing on YouTube and Facebook Live in accordance with Kansas Open Meetings Act. The meeting can be viewed on Channel 2 and via Facebook Live. The public is encouraged to view the meeting using one of those options. The Leavenworth City Commission meeting is open to the public with limited seating capacity. To mitigate the spread of COVID-19, face coverings and social distancing is required to attend the meeting. To attend the meeting in person, email cwilliamson@firstcity.org no later than 4 p.m. on November 10th to reserve a seat. Seats are available on a first-come, first-served basis. If you're not attending the meeting but would like to submit public comments to be read during the public comments portion of the meeting, or submit a question on an agenda item to be read during the discussion on that topic, please email your comments or questions to cwilliamson@firstcity.org no later than 6 p.m. on November 10th. So the first thing we're going to do is Pledge of Allegiance, followed by silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. This is the proclamations and presentations portion of the meeting. I have two proclamations to read this evening. City of Leavenworth, Kansas proclamation. First one is for the National American Heritage Month. Whereas the history and culture of our great nation have been significantly influenced by American Indians and indigenous peoples, and whereas the contributions of American Indians have enhanced the freedom, prosperity, and greatness of America today, and whereas their customs and traditions are respected and celebrated as part of a rich legacy throughout the United States, and whereas Native American Awareness Week began in 1976 and recognition was expanded by Congress and approved by President George Bush in August 1990, designating the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month. And whereas in honor of National American Indian Heritage Month, community celebrations as well as numerous cultural, artistic, educational, and historical activities have been planned. Now therefore, I, Myron J. Mike Griswold, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim November 2020 as National American Indian Heritage Month. And I urge all our citizens to observe this month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. In witness whereof, I set my hand and have affixed the Great Seal of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, this 10th day of November in the year of 2020. And then I've signed it, and we'll get it to the appropriate organization and representative here in the next few days. Next proclamation. This is for the Small Business Saturday. City of Leavenworth, Kansas. Proclamation whereas advocacy groups, public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Small Business Saturday as a Shop Local campaign held on the Saturday following Thanksgiving to encourage reinvestment in small business across the country. And whereas small businesses employ over 55% of America's workers either owning or working for a small business. And whereas 87% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses are critical to the overall economic health of the United States. And whereas according to research from Civic Economics, for every $100 spent at a local store, $68 stays within the community, while online shopping generates little or no benefit for the local economy. And whereas American Express is the leader in promoting Small Business Saturday throughout the country, as well as the National Main Street Center and Kansas Main Street, and whereas annually Leavenworth Main Street hosts Shop Small Saturday on Small Business Saturday within the downtown, with many businesses consistently participating. On average, $95,000 is spent in the businesses, and average merchants collectively average $200,000 in sales. And whereas the City of Leavenworth wishes to recognize the contributions that small businesses make to our community and local economy, now therefore I, Myron J. Mike Griswold, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim November 28, 2020 as Small Business Saturday in the City of Leavenworth, and hereby urge all citizens to shop at and support our local businesses. In witness whereof, I set my hand and have affixed the great seal of the city of Leavenworth, Kansas, this 10th day of November in the year of 2020. Signed, Myron J. Mike Griswold, Mayor. So we'll get that to the Leavenworth Main Street organization and their director, Ms. Wendy Shea. Old business, we have consideration of previous meeting minutes. So commissioners, do any of us have comments or questions on the minutes from our meeting on October 27th?
Do not.
I'll entertain a motion then.
Commissioner Leonhard, I move to approve minutes from October 27, 2020, regular meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes from our October 27th, 2020 regular meeting. I'm going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. Vote is 5-0. Ayes have it. Motion carries. So we've approved the minutes from our October 27th, 2020 regular meeting. We have 4 second consideration ordinances. And the first one is second consideration ordinance 8150 special use permit 611 Miami, 2-family dwelling in R1-6 zoning.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, there have been no changes since the first consideration on this item. It is a special use permit for a 2-family dwelling that is currently in a zoning that does not allow it. This would be a special use permit.
Any questions or comments from any of my fellow commissioners on this particular agenda item?
Yes, I went by there today, and they're doing a lot of work on the house. It looks really nice. And there are other duplexes in the neighborhood too, so I'm okay with zoning them a duplex.
Good. Okay. Good feedback. Any other comments or questions from commissioners? This is now presented for second consideration and requires a roll call vote. So we are going to begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Commissioner.
Aye.
Go ahead.
I think he said hot.
Aye. Yeah. Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote ayes. Vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. The motion carries. So we've adopted ordinance number 8150. Next one is second consideration ordinance 8151. Creating a community improvement district, CID price chopper. Mr. Kramer, anything on this one?
No, Mr. Mayor and Commission, I will note that Mr. Pete Heaven from the Price Chopper development team is on the line should you have any questions over the next 3 items. But there have been no changes since the community improvement district was on first reading 2 weeks ago tonight.
Okay. Any questions or comments from commissioners?
Nope.
All right, so this requires a roll call vote, and we are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger? Aye. Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0. Ayes have it. Motion carries, so we've adopted ordinance number 8151. Next is second consideration ordinance 8152, adopting a redevelopment project plan, price chopper.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, again, there have been no changes since the first reading. This item relates to setting up the structure for Price Chopper to be able to access TIF financing.
Okay, any questions or comments from commissioners on this particular agenda item? We had a good discussion of it 2 weeks ago, and I don't have any questions, so if not, this requires a roll call vote, and we are going to begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonhard?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. Vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. Motion carries. So we've adopted ordinance number 8152. Next is second consideration ordinance 8153, authorizing the issuance of taxable industrial revenue bonds. Supermarket Developers Incorporated, price chopper.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, the final item tonight dealing with the Price Chopper redevelopment program, again, also has no changes from the first consideration reading. These are industrial revenue bonds for this project. If you have any questions, myself or the city attorney will be glad to answer those.
Okay, any questions or comments for Mr. Kramer or our city attorney? Any questions or comments in general? If not, this is obviously presented for second consideration and requires a roll call vote, and we are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. Vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. Motion carries. So we've adopted ordinance 8153.
Yay.
Good. Okay. Next agenda item is review staff proposal for mayor's holiday lighted parade event.
No
Public comment.
Oh, why do I keep doing that? I'm
We gotta have our
sorry.
public
I
comment.
know.
I'm sorry.
They're like, don't
Yeah.
forget us.
We do have public comment. Hold on a minute. Okay, so these are for items not listed on the agenda or receipt of petitions. So do we have people in the audience who'd like to come up? If so, come up to the podium, please. State your name and address and let us know what's on your mind.
Could I ask you to make sure that the mayor and the four commissioners of the city council name and address? Your name and address.
Yeah, name and address, sir.
My name is William Bentley. My address is 1912 Evergreen Street here in Leavenworth. And I'm not going to go over the booklet, but what I'd like you to do is take time in the next week to look at it. The reason Mark and I are here is to propose and request that the Cody Park be resurfaced and repurposed for 6 dedicated pickleball courts and a fabric windbreak in the fence there. We have approximately 50 pickleballers here in the area, and Cody Park from March to November, whenever the weather's above 50 degrees, play there from morning to the evening. I played in the morning at 7 o'clock and come back at 7 in the evening and played till 11 with a group. So we have dedicated people that use that extensively. It's seldom used for tennis. You know, over the course of the last 4 years since I've been playing, we maybe seen, you know, a few people that will play on it, but they're just kind of dinking around. So it's really not used. There are plenty of tennis courts in the city here that they can use. And the surface in there really isn't conducive to playing tennis. And really the cracks and the soft spots in there are getting so bad that there's really only 2 courts that we can play pickleball on now. So surrounding cities, Lawrence have dedicated recently 6 courts. Over in Riverside, they've got, this year they have 8 courts that they used, and they're used extensively. Even Weston has a dedicated, even Weston has a dedicated court. So we are, you know, hopeful that that you will consider this offer. We've had the owner of Gearbox, who's located, he's the president of the company in California, stop at Cody Park and play with us one evening. So it's been used quite a bit. It's one of the fastest growing sports in the last 6 years, 650% increase in the number of players. And you can play from age 8 to 80. We have several, I'm 69, we have several that are in their 70s. We have one that's in his 80s that plays. My doctor said, if you want to keep healthy when we get older, keep active. So it's a great sport and keeps us good exercise. It's also a good social sport. These are our friends. We go out to eat, bike ride, and do other things with these people, so they become kind of like family. It's an easy sport to pick up, and for a family, it's relatively affordable. You can buy a reasonable net for a couple $100, and you know, if a family of 4 for 4 paddles and balls, maybe 200. So it's fairly expensive. So that's our request. We'd like it to be resurfaced, repurposed for 6 dedicated pickleball courts, and have a windbreak in there so that we can play even when the wind's up above 10 miles an hour. So, any questions?
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Bentley. Questions or comments for Mr. Bentley from my fellow commissioners?
I just want to say I've always been supportive of pickleball. Actually, you know this, that I first was proposing Cody Park. And we used to play out at Falcon Lakes, and then we played at Fort Leavenworth, and we got bumped out of there quite a bit, and then down to the community center, of course. But I just wondered, Mr. Kramer, does this go through I mean, you know, our Parks Advisory Board looks at all of the parks, right? And then they make decisions based on priorities and that. Does this go to them first?
I think the decision that would go to them eventually is if we were to change, how the courts are marked. You know, they would be the commission's ultimate decision, but you'd usually want to get input on a change in use from the Parks Board. But that would probably be sometime next spring before the commission looks at it. And I'm assuming tonight that the commission would be interested in looking at some dollar figures during the CIP
Yes,
for resurfacing and potential repainting of the court. So we'll do that, and then we would probably refer any changes to the composition of the courts to the Parks Board, because that's what their job is, to advise the commission on what they think is the best use of parks, ultimately up to the commission.
And as a former tennis player, it's not a good place to play tennis, really. It's too restrictive
Yeah.
in there. It's too small, and I mean, the other courts are much better at
Sure.
Brewer Park.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd be willing to look at it next
I
summer.
might also mention, I know that you resurfaced Dowdy Park
Doherty, yeah.
Doherty.
several years ago, and we've tried to go down there and play. There's two things wrong. One, the surface, the balls don't bounce on it.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
a
other thing-
basketball court too.
Yeah,
to be
basketball
that,
court.
yeah.
And the other thing is that the courts are designed east-west, so you always have the sun in somebody's eye, so. Cody Park is excellent for a place for
It is, good.
pickleball. It's got lights, the fence, so.
Thank you to you
Okay.
guys for coming and for everybody writing
Any
your
other,
individual notes. I think it would be more helpful to us if somebody wrote a letter and put everybody's name on it instead of having, because I like to respond to everybody, but I just didn't have time to
Sure,
get back
sure.
with everybody.
Okay,
but before you go, any other comments or questions?
Mr. Bentley, you and I talked this afternoon, I
Right,
believe, and I think I explained to you the process.
Right.
That we go into budgeting next July, and that is the time that, you know, the commission will take input and make decisions on how money
sure.
is spent. All the money for calendar year 2021 is already budgeted and
Okay.
planned out.
Okay.
So I'm sure that you and your group will be back before then, or it'll definitely be on our radar.
Yeah,
That
we
would be
will.
something we consider during
Yeah.
budget and CIP, capital improvement programs,
Okay,
during that timeframe.
okay, all right.
We-
Thank you very
you.
much.
We do appreciate all the feedback and the enthusiasm. I'm not a pickleball player, not yet, but I know one of the members of your group. He's a good friend and colleague in business with me for about a decade, Jim Crandall, so say hello
Oh,
to
yeah.
Jim for me.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I'll do that.
and I'm a
He's
little
avid.
surprised you guys didn't come earlier, but that's okay. No, I'm, as one commissioner, very supportive, and we are gonna address this as part of the upcoming 2021 capital improvements program process.
Okay.
And so thank you for coming.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
take
Thank
care.
you very
All right.
much.
Thanks.
Any other, no, there's anybody out there, I don't, any other public comment for this evening? Do we get any, you didn't get any emails or phone calls, did you?
I did not.
This one? Okay, thank you. So, we are now under general items, and I review and discuss mayor's holiday lighted parade.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I'm going to start on this item and then turn it over to our Parks and Recreation Department Director, Steve Grant. At the September 1st City Commission meeting, I briefed the commission on sort of a strategy for the end of the year as far as public events. We dramatically reduced the number of events we had because of the COVID-19 pandemic and our desire to keep our citizens and our staff and everybody safe. At that event, I outlined 3 events, focusing one per month. The first one, the Trunk or Treat event, which I believe was a huge success out at Sportsfield. Maybe one of the better events we've had in quite a while. Event 2, which happens tomorrow, is the Veterans Day Parade downtown. That's the November event. And then I mentioned at that meeting in September that we were working on a holiday lighted parade, Mayor's Christmas Tree Lighting substitute event for December. So we have been working, staff has been working diligently on that, our Parks and Recreation Department, our Police Department, our Fire Department, and tonight our Parks and Recreation Department Director, Steve Grant, is going to go over kind of what we've come up with. The overarching goal is, again, keeping people spread out, keeping it outside, keeping it safe, avoiding areas of congregation, and trying to have as memorable event as we can with the circumstances that we're in. So I'm going to turn it over to to Steve Grant. Steve?
Thanks, Paul. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Good to be with you this evening. Yeah, as Paul alluded to, every year we have our big Mayor's Holiday Tree Lighting event down at Haymarket Square, and I'm pretty sure everyone's attended it. And it's always a huge success, but the obvious irresponsible thing that would happen would be to try and have something like that again due to the congregation of the crowds. So we did, as a staff, we met and felt that we could safely do a holiday lighted parade. And as Paul alluded to, the goal is to not encourage any congregation at any one single point. So with that thought in mind, we came up with a new parade route that we're proposing tonight. I'll start with the date. The date would be on Friday, December 4th. So we'll push it back a little bit later since it's not the outdoor venue event that we had in the past. We would do it on Friday, December 4th, starting at 5:30. And the new parade route, the proposed route, it encourages citizens to come out and park and stay at or in their vehicle, whatever they feel comfortable with. It goes by 7 city-owned parking lots, as well as on streets that are very wide and have parking on each side. So the proposed route would start on 3rd Street at the intersection of 3rd and Seneca. From there, we would head, there is a map of this in the agenda packet. We'll head south on 3rd Street to Cherokee, and then Cherokee we would turn left or east down towards South Esplanade, and then turning right at Esplanade Street, going past the Landing Park parking lot there, where it would turn again there back to the west on Choctaw, and that's where it would disband. We feel that there's over 90 parking spaces in those city-owned lots alone that face the parade route, so we find that fantastic, as well as, like I said, the on-street parking, very wide streets all the way through it. We will plan on doing the same lighting at Haymarket Square that we've done in the past, with all of the lights tuned into the music. It will not be associated with the same event. We'll have the mayor's tree over there with the lights on it. We'll invite the citizens to pull in and listen to and watch the lights go to the music that'll be tuned into a radio station there at Haymarket Square. So that still will be offered throughout the season, but we wanted to separate that where that's not an isolated event. We invite them to go there throughout the year so that there's not congregation. And we thought that this plan, as far as the lighted parade, we will require all of the floats in the parade to have Christmas lights, holiday lights on them. And then we're going to also encourage music, any holiday music, that people are able to do that. So with that, I open it up to any thoughts or discussion or anything you all might have or any comments.
Questions or comments, commissioners?
Yeah, I do. How many floats are normally in this parade?
So it's normally, Stephen, if I get this wrong, it's usually between 25 and 30, and we thought that was a manageable amount, so we did cap it, but we kept it at 30. So it's going to be a good-sized parade. We wanted to make it worthwhile of people coming out, so we think we can do that safely in the staging area, keep everybody spread out, and still have a good number of floats.
So anyone, I guess, could be in it, any kind of organization or anything? Or
We have a pretty good group that comes out about every single
Okay.
year, but yeah, Steve, I don't know if you want to elaborate on some of our regulars.
Yeah, sure. We'll get the carousel. We'll put a float in there. We've had the Rotary or Lions Club and some of the civic organizations around. The dance studios, a lot of the local businesses or people that have things like that, martial arts or anything like that. But then the city generally puts, we'll have a refuse vehicle in there, and I believe Water Pollution Control puts their big back machine in there. And then we in Parks and Rec usually will have a float in there also, so the city gets involved also.
Okay, thank you.
Go, Commissioner Bauer. Sure.
So it stops there, and then the tree lighting, How does that work with the tree lighting at Haymarket then? Will that be afterwards,
there
it'll
won't
be a whole
be-
different day, or? You said it wasn't part of this event.
Right, Steve, I'll take it to start. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we're gonna light it, but we're not gonna make it an event, so it'll just be
Oh.
lit up one night.
Okay.
And then it'll be lit for the rest of the whole season with all the other lights and stuff, but it won't be an official sort of kickoff event.
So
We'll
there
do it
won't be
before this
Santa?
parade.
No
So if you
Santa?
wanna drive through there,
And the kids
no
do the
singing,
lighting?
no,
Kid not
no,
gonna do the lighting?
no corals and stuff. So we'll also have a Christmas tree, a lit Christmas tree as part of this parade, because we didn't wanna lose that element.
Okay.
But we will not have an event at Haymarket.
Okay.
Do the organizations have to let Mr. Grant know that they're gonna have an entry? To, you know,
Yes.
Okay, ahead of time?
Okay.
See if any other questions or comments for Mr. Grant or Mr. Kramer? No, I think it's a good adaptation in terms of the, you know,
Yeah, it
the,
looks like
the type of year we're in as far as
It's
the.
not going down Delaware.
Yeah.
And so Delaware is a lot tighter.
It's a nice
Yeah.
route,
Yeah,
I think.
it is nice route. And it does go by 7 parking lots. I didn't realize we had that many parking lots in that particular area, but that's not a bad thing, particularly for a parade like this. So, good planning, Mr. Grant, and we don't have to take any action, just any other comments or questions on this particular agenda item. Looks like it's been well planned, and I know it'll be well executed, and it'll be here before we know it. Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve?
The next agenda item is to consider amended fee schedule, wastewater rate increase 2021.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I'm going to turn this item over to our Public Works Director here in a second. As a reminder, every year during the budget season, the Commission approves any increases to our 2 utility rates, which are wastewater and refuse. As you'll remember from the budget season, we were able to keep refuse at a 0% increase, so there is no increase in your refuse rates for 2021. And we had a modest 3% increase that the Commission passed as part of the budget for wastewater. As a reminder, that a lot of that funds are dealing with root control, UV disinfection, that's a requirement by the state and the EPA, increased price in chemicals, increased work to replace sewer lines throughout the city for the 3% increase. And then subsequently later in the year, we have to amend our schedule of fees to make those new fees part of the official record. So with that, Mike, I may have stolen all your thunder, but if I need to add anything else, please do.
Mr. McDonald, anything?
I
Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, the city manager has done a great job of explaining this. There is a calculation that we go through to create rates for the next year that would take effect for bills being mailed in December. That ensures that we receive a full year of revenue for the revenue or the rates that we do send out. The chart that is shown on the screen basically it shows a lot of things, but I think that the main thing I'd like to show is that the vast majority of people use less than 10 units of water in the winter or in the summer. The bottom of the chart goes from 0 up to, I think, 50, and that is units of water, and the left side of the chart shows the number of customers that there are. Ultimately, the vast majority of people are clustered around 4 or 5 units of water per month. Of course, it shows that they do straggle out to 50. We do adjust rates based on how much water is used in the winter. We work with waterworks, and they take the water that is used by residential properties in January, February, and March to create what is called a winter average, and that is applied for the entire year beginning in July. That ensures that if you're filling your swimming pool or washing your car or watering your yard, you're not billed for sewer. You're only billed based on the water you use in the winter, which we believe generally reflects the amount of water that enters the sewer for most residences. The chart in the policy report illustrates current rates 2020 and the 2021 rates. We do differentiate slightly for outside city rates are like 5 or 7% higher. At this point, I do not believe we have any outside city customers, but we calculate them anyway. If you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions or comments for Mr. McDonald?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Leonhardt.
Yeah, Mr. McDonald, so it's the 3% wastewater increase. Is that something, since I'm sort of new to this, is this every year? Is there an increase with this, or just depending on, especially this year with repairs to the system? Is there an increase?
We work every year to bring the commission a budget with the recommended increase. It's been very high in the past. This is more of a maintenance level. However, one of the goals of the commission a year or two ago was to build up somewhat of a cash reserve, which had been near the lower levels or perhaps lower than was recommended by most financial advisors. This contributes to that, as well as additional costs of doing business, as well as keeping up with our repairs. I think last year may have been a 7% increase, and this year is 3%, based on our forecast and the issues we see in front of us for the upcoming year.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McDonald, I know last year we had maybe a 2-day reserve. Is that correct? 2 or 3 day reserve, or 36 hours, whatever it may have been. What are we at right now, and what do you envision us to be at a year from now?
I do not know the answer to that. My part is to bring this to you to help solve that problem.
Okay.
But I know it is, we are in better financial condition than we were a year ago at this time when we were beginning to discuss that situation.
Okay. Do you know, Mr. Kramer? Approximate, just ballpark.
Yeah, I think we're much closer to 2 weeks of reserves. We have 3 days, I think, is the number that we are at. Some of that is a little bit misleading because we have had some vacant positions this year, and we also put a little bit of a hold on our line replacement program because of the pandemic, and unsure of what sort of the impact, financial impact of that would have. So we can get some more information for the commission on that.
Good.
Okay.
But we are moving in the right direction.
We're trying to slowly, yeah.
Part of this increase, I think, defrays the expenses of that pipe replacement program we've had over the years, right, in the northern part of Leavenworth?
Right, we do about $500,000 a year in what we call inflow and infiltration, and that is specifically the removal and replacement of sewer lines in the city of Leavenworth.
And has that been somewhat impacted by the COVID-19 situation this year?
Yes, we did put most of that work on hold for 2020.
Okay.
If revenues come in how we expect, we could maybe do a much larger project in 2021.
Okay, that's good, that's good. Good update there. All right, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the amended fee schedule for the wastewater rate increase for 2021 as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second on this particular agenda item, reference the wastewater rate schedule for the upcoming year, beginning December 1st, 2020. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Commissioner Leonhardt?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger? Aye. Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. Motion carries. So we've accepted and adopted the wastewater rate schedule effective December 1st, 2020. Thank you. Next is a resolution B 2270 nonprofit organization event Alive After 5 2021.
City Clerk Carla Williamson will handle this item.
Mayor and Commissioner, this is a resolution. We've been doing this, I think, probably for about the last 6 or 7 years. Main Street has been doing this Alive After 5 event. And what this allows them to do is to serve complimentary or free alcoholic beverage and cereal malt beverage at some of their events, should they decide to. This is just required by ABC that the commission pass this resolution allowing that. So Like I say, this is just the annual review of that and that resolution, and that will allow them to continue their events through 2021.
Yeah, these are the Live After 5 events, which are held on the first Thursday of each month, and I think between the hours of 4 p.m. and 10 p.m., and I think they're getting even more popular, so this,
Right.
I think this is my third year, probably the third year I've seen this, and any questions or comments for Ms. Williamson? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution B 2270 to authorize serving complimentary alcoholic liquor from the Leavenworth Main Street program, Alive After 5 events.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on this particular agenda item. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson? Commissioner Preisinger? Aye. Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The ayes have it. Vote is 5-0. Motion carries. So we've adopted resolution B 2270. Next is first consideration ordinance to amend emergency snow routes.
Public Works Director Mike McDonald will handle this item.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, this is a follow-up on our recent discussion of emergency snow route, or emergency snow procedures we reviewed with the Commission in October. We had mentioned that there were some minor adjustments we wanted to make to the emergency snow route ordinance to reflect a little bit of everything. And that is why we bring you this ordinance for first consideration. We reviewed snow routes as they're listed in the ordinance. We reviewed them as they are listed in the snow manual. Then we also reviewed them as they are shown on the maps in the snow manual, and then how our drivers actually drive the snow routes, and try to get the essence of what the emergency snow route system in Leavenworth is in this listing, in the policy report, and as shown on the map here. In the policy report, we tried to show in red the changes that are being proposed. Many of them are fairly innocuous, like the ordinance says County Road 5. We call it Tonganoxie Road, so we would add Tonganoxie Road to clarify that. Likewise, at some point in the past, we had, I believe, added to something that the streets up at Home Place and limit where you would enter the VA were classified or shown as emergency snow routes, but did not show in the ordinance. So we'd like to add them. Two, I don't know if they're controversial, but they're significant enough. I want to mention them specifically. One is Marshall Street between 5th Avenue and Broadway. It is proposed that be deleted from the ordinance, as that was in front of the hospital for their accesses for the ambulance and the people. The hospital is now closed, and therefore the reason that it was an emergency snow route does not exist, and we are proposing that it would be deleted. And the other one is a little more technical. Metropolitan Avenue from Centennial Bridge to 20th Street shows as a emergency snow route in the ordinance. However, that's a state-maintained route, and none of the other state-maintained routes are classified as emergency snow routes within the city, and that would be 4th Street south of Limit or Spruce Street west of 15th. So staff is proposing that that would be deleted to be consistent with the other state-maintained routes. But I want to note that there is a section of Metropolitan Avenue between 16th and 20th that we have plowed as an emergency snow route. It has, I think, about 3 or 4, actually more than that now. There's a handful of homes on that that would not be emergency snow route, but I believe our drivers probably go that way anyway. But it is something I wanted to bring to your attention. There's some other street name changes. We had 2 sections of Viola Street. We want to just consolidate into one. Clarifications, we had some overlap in some descriptions on 5th Avenue and 7th Street. And then kind of a fun vestigial remnant is 18th Street used to be between Metropolitan Avenue and Highway US 73, and the last time they relocated the highway around, 18th Street does not even exist anymore, when we're proposing, of course, that would be deleted. Other one is that we wanted to make sure you know is on there is Santa Fe Trail from Metropolitan Avenue to Hancock Avenue. That's an emergency snow route that was added once again to the manual, but was not included in the ordinance. We believe it should be listed. And I mentioned the second paragraph on the page of the policy report that we were proposing to add Home Place between Wilson and Limit as an emergency snow route, and Marion Street from 4th Street to Wilson as emergency snow routes to kind of complete a circle or a route that our drivers can follow. One of the fun things with this is it's like herding cats. There's always something changing to distract you. And our drivers have maps that have basically show them how they should drive the emergency snow routes, where they should turn around and that sort of thing. And some of that information crept into the maps that were distributed in the initial policy report that's since been corrected. Particularly New Lawrence Road. New Lawrence Road is shown as a hotspot route where we do go out if there's a threat of icing or other types of severe winter weather, and try to treat it early. These are shown in red on the snow route map, things up on Westwood Drive and some other streets. Somehow that had become inadvertently colored in as part of the purple route based on some discussions with the drivers. Technically, it is not an emergency snow route. We may bring this back next year with the recommendation that it be, particularly they have the big school down there now that's been increased in size, and there's becoming a lot more houses out on that road. But at this point, we did not propose that it would be. New Lawrence Road does get treated with a priority.
Okay. That's a good rundown, Mr. McDonald. Any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
Just a comment, Tonganoxie is misspelled on here.
Did you get that, Mr. McDonald? Just need a little,
No, sir.
That's all I noticed.
well, I think you'll want that information, because I think it is good that you're, synchronizing the actual manual with the ordinance. That's really good. That's good administrative discipline, so I do appreciate that. And that can be sometimes a little challenging. I had a question about the state maintained routes like Metropolitan you talked about, Mr. McDonald. How does the state do on a, kind of a normal snowstorm? Did they get to that route in a fairly reasonable amount of time?
We have no real complaints with how the state maintains the roads. They hit them very aggressively with a lot of vehicles all at once, so they make a big change in a short period of time. We have worked with them, in particular, if there is something going on that they can't get their trucks to. We have gone out and plowed parts of those routes for them if they've asked us to.
Okay.
They've worked with us if we know that Fort Leavenworth or the schools or something are going to be letting out early to try to address the spots on those routes. But to answer your question directly, we're quite pleased with the state's performance on meeting their commitments on those routes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments for Mr. McDonald? This is an item for first consideration of the ordinance, and so we have to go around and see whether we have consensus. So we are going to begin with Commissioner Wilson.
Good.
Commissioner Leonhard,
Yes.
Commissioner Preisinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowder.
Yes,
And I, as the mayor, say yes, so we have consensus, and we'll see it in the very near future and on a second consideration for adoption of this particular ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald, appreciate it. Next is Resolution B 2271, application for 2020 Leavenworth County Call for Projects.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioner, this will be handled by our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Taylor Tedder.
Hello, Mr. Tedder.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commission. So this resolution tonight before you is related to an application for a grant program that the Board of County Commissioners of Leavenworth County recently announced. This is a call for projects for transportation system improvements for projects that will occur in 2022 or 2023. So city staff identified a project at Michaels Road, from Tonganoxie Road to 167th Street. And this project does have a combination of serving both county residents entering and leaving the city, as well as city residents that live in the area. It has a safety component to it. The current road's very narrow, and it's only paved half of the way up to the neighborhood street there. This would pave it all the way to 167th Street. And with the narrow shoulders that are there currently, this would increase the safety as well. And essentially, in the grant application that I've filled out, it also has a requirement of having a resolution passed by the governing body committing ourselves to our proposed matching funds, which staff's proposing a 75-25 split cost share for the project. So it is a $453,867 project. So our matching funds would be $113,467. And we do believe that we'll be able to program that in the CIP for whichever year you choose, 2022 or 2023. I also left in there in the grant application as well that we could possibly use pavement management program funds for that, but I would think that we can use the CIP for funding that. So essentially, this is one step of the application process. So this will go to the county's review board that they've set up, and they'll score it and let us know.
Mr. Kramer, did you have something? Any questions or comments from the commissioners, from Mr.?
No, it looks like a really, good project.
And the cost share would be that we're 75% for the county and 25% for the city, correct?
Correct.
What are you looking at as far as assuming that we approve this? What's the timeline in terms of you getting the application in?
So the application is due on the 16th.
Okay.
So we'll have it in immediately.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution B 2271, the application for the 2020 Leavenworth County Call for Projects as presented.
I second.
There's a motion and a second for this particular agenda item. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson? Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. Vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. Motion carries. So we've adopted Resolution B 2271. Thank you, Mr. Tedder.
Thank you.
Next is, we got the consent agenda, yes. And that's Commissioner Leonhardt, consent agenda for this particular meeting. Commissioner Leonhardt?
Okay. I move to approve claims for October 24th, 2020 through November 6th, 2020 in the amount of $2,432,242.49. Net amount for payroll number 23, effective November 6th, 2020, in the amount of $337,518.06. No police and fire pension.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the consent agenda. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Leonhardt?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. Vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. Motion carries. So we've approved the consent agenda for tonight's commission meeting. And we're going to go into executive session, but before we do that, before I make a motion to do that, I'd like to go around the horn as we normally do to see if any of our commissioners or the city manager have any comments or, so Mr. Kramer, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, just one quick announcement. We'll follow this up with a press release and a social media announcement. The city's been working quickly to try to get some of our COVID-19 relief dollars into the community, into the hands of those who need it. The commission has taken action over the last couple months to get funds to Catholic Charities and other organizations for utility assistance, and those organizations are doing well. Our first round of grants, which we let the organizations know today, we have 6 grants, the Leavenworth Mission, focusing on food delivery for those in need. Salvation Army Food Pantry, again, trying to help our food pantries that are in need. Leavenworth Public Library, which has incurred COVID-related PPE and mitigation expenses. Leavenworth County Backpack Buddies, they've seen a substantial increase in their food preparation costs for those children who need those food services on the weekends. And then our 2 higher education partners who have encountered significant challenges in keeping their enrollment up and keeping our community safe as their students continue to learn, work, and train in our communities. So Kansas City, Kansas Community College and the University of St. Mary. I appreciate the feedback from the commission and the public. We are currently working on grants with St. Vincent Clinic, the Guidance Center, our partners that participate in the Community Development Block Grant Program like CASA, the Association Against Family Violence, or Alliance Against Family Violence, Catholic Charities, other food pantries, and a few other community organizations. The next phase after this is Mr. Tedder is currently working on a business grant program, and so we are in full swing trying to get those funds out into our community as fast as we can.
Exciting, really exciting.
Yeah, that is great.
Good job, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Anything else? Mr. Kramer, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Commissioner Wilson, anything for the good of the order?
Yes, I just want to say, happy Veterans Day to all of those who have served and those who are not with us. Just want to say you all are not forgotten. To the family members, those that have allowed to serve, thank you all for your dedication and sacrifices you made as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Leonhard.
Yes, I want to shout out to Janet Klaczynski, the Leavenworth County Clerk. Actually, she reached out to me earlier this year to get involved with the primary and general election process. So I was privileged to be a part of this system and worked with a lot of great people, and I learned quite a bit. So I just wanted to give kudos to her and her staff for their dedication, efficiency, and professionalism. And I do, I don't know, she had mentioned it was 72% turnout this year. If you look back 4 years, it was 61%. So, and actually, let's see, what other number? Advanced voting, which also includes advanced voting in person and then mail-in after the fact, was 23,167. That's an estimate. And actually, on Election Day, it was 13,230. So actually more on the advanced and mail-in. The final figures on that for the election official results will be November 16th. So then at that time, if there's any candidates or anyone else that wants the totals for all the precincts, that will be done then. And actually, happy Veterans Day as well to all the veterans out there, including my dad.
Thank you, Commissioner Leonhard. Appreciate that. Commissioner Preisinger?
Now that the election is over, I always I want to talk about masks again. I think the politics of it since we're done with the election, the politics should be taken out of it. Look at the numbers statewide. Kansas is listed as one of the states that's spiking very high. Nationwide, it's going up. We're getting to the time of the season that there's a lot of warnings about people congregating inside. I think at some point we may need to consider a mask ordinance again. I don't want it to hurt any business, and I don't see how it would hurt any business. In fact, I think many people that wear masks don't want to go into businesses that people aren't wearing masks. But I think we need to watch it closely. It is a national emergency. It's a worldwide emergency, and there are ways to help mitigate it. Won't cure it, but mitigate it. And every scientist has any salt will tell you that masks are helpful. So that's all I have on that. With all we have gone through the demo process on homes, many of us for many years on the commission. Obviously, we've gone through another one this year, and it just goes on and goes on forever and ever. not necessarily forever and ever, but for a long time, longer than it needs to. I know other cities in our area, they have ordinances and they codify how this process should be done. I think we as a commission should put it on our plate, on our agenda, maybe in the next couple months, to look at a process to codify this. And certain things have to happen. It's in the ordinance, because we're just, every time someone comes in, I mean, we give some deals here, some deals there, and there's no process to it. And I think that we need to have a process. So at some point, I'd like that we potentially have a study session and decide if that is in fact something we want to do.
Okay.
And last thing, obviously tomorrow is Veterans Day, but today happens to be the 245th birthday of the Marine Corps, so for any jarheads out there, happy birthday.
Yes, definitely. Those are all good points. Anything else, Commissioner Preisinger?
No, that's it, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bowder?
I have to say that, of course, I agree with Commissioner Preisinger on the mask issue, and early, I think it's almost too late. I think I wanted to see an ordinance passed a long time ago to prevent some of the problems and some of the deaths that we have had in this community now. My husband and I only go to restaurants where masks are worn by staff, and we promote that, and I think everybody should promote that. We like to go out. We don't like to sit at home all the time. We want to support our local restaurants and our local businesses, and we do not want to see them have to shut down. And in the past, I've gotten calls from the businesses saying they wish the city would just have an ordinance so they could just put it on the door and say we don't have to fight with our customers. This is a city thing. So anyway, I agree with that. But I would like to make a special recognition to the county again with the county health department. I had a cough for about a week and a half, and I was concerned about it, and my doctor told me I should go get a COVID test, which, by the way, is negative. And so I went there I called them, and they set up an appointment to come. Everybody comes at the same time in the morning or the afternoon. And I came in the afternoon, and there were about 30 cars ahead of me going through. I got there early, and there were 30 cars going ahead, but by the time I left, there were at least 60 or 70 cars behind me. And the director, Jamie Miller, told me that morning alone, they had over 150 people come through there. And these are people who are either referred by their doctor, or have symptoms, or are exposed. So that tells you a lot of people are being tested every day at our health department. So kudos to the health department. They ran it very smoothly, and I got my call back yesterday to tell me that it was negative, and they were very professional, and they've had to do a lot this year, and
Yeah, they've done a great job.
definitely done a great job.
Anything else, Commissioner Bowder?
That's all I have. Thank you. Happy Veterans Day to all of you
Yes,
veterans.
all the veterans. Yes, I just got a few things. I'll reiterate what all the commissioners have said about the veterans. Thank you for your service, all those in the city and our wider Fort Leavenworth, our wider community, including Lansing. Tomorrow we'll be able to, I think it's the 101st Veterans Day parade
101st,
for
yes,
the
it
city
is.
of Leavenworth. It'll be a bit reduced in terms of the number of entries and things like that, but it'll still be a special occasion. So I'm looking forward to participating in it, and hope to see many of the citizens of our city out there tomorrow. I guess gonna have to bundle up because today it did get kind of cold. But thank you, veterans, for your service, and tomorrow we'll recognize you with the 101st 101st Veterans Day Parade in Leavenworth, Kansas. I reinforce and echo my fellow commissioners' comments about COVID-19, the statistics and the data. Definitely going south. You just need to go to the county website, the state website, or listen to television, and we all understand that. So I would just, reiterate, there's only a few tools we have in the public health toolbox. Masks, it's not a mandate right now, but when you're out there in the public, wear masks, the social distancing aspects of at least 6 feet, the washing of hands, and then unfortunately, well, I think we do have a good testing program within the county.
We do.
Unfortunately, you know, there are more and more, well, fortunately and unfortunately, but obviously there are more cases now as a result of the testing. So I would just say we've got those tools in the public health toolbox, and let's think about them, and also think about what families are gonna do in Thanksgiving. Some adjustments may have to be made this coming Thanksgiving with respect to the size and the, you know, where these events are gonna take place. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is in 2020. I do have a gotta thank the city commissioners. The mayor and the city commissioners got a thank you note from the First United Methodist Church. And this came from the pastor and some of the congregants. And it said, "Thank you for partnering with us in the recent parking project. The city government and commissioners' commitment to bring his kingdom to our local community was exemplified by your leadership and oversight throughout this project. Blessings to you and the entire city government," and it's signed by the First United Methodist Church, beginning with Pastor York. But that was a project that we partnered with them in terms of facilitating the process, and they did a great job once they got all the approvals and worked through the process with the city and Mr. McDonald's department and the city manager. So, and I think it happened very quickly. So appreciate the thank you note, and it was a good outcome for a partnership with one of our faith communities. I think that's it. The next part of our meeting is going to be an executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. I'll go ahead and make the motion. I move to recess into executive session to discuss the annual performance review of the city manager pursuant to the non-elected personnel matters exception KSA 75-4319B1. The open meeting to resume in the city commission chambers at, we're gonna need 30 minutes for this, so 8:32 by the clock in the city commission chambers. Human Resources Director, Ms. Lana Lanter, is requested to attend. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to go into executive session for 30 minutes. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson? Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The ayes have it, 5-0, motion carries, so we're gonna go into executive session now. Okay, we are back from executive session. We're back in our open meeting. And I am going to make a motion, which I'll need a second on after I make the motion. I move to approve a 3% merit increase for City Manager Paul Kramer, effective with the first check of the 2021 payroll.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for a 3% merit increase for City Manager Paul Kramer. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. Vote is 5-0. Ayes have it. Motion carries. So we've approved the 3% merit increase for City Manager Paul Kramer, effective with the first check of the 2021 payroll. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Good work. And so that's about it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Leonhardt?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. Motion carries, so we are adjourned.
Amen.